Max Verstappen held on for a brilliant victory in today's Canadian Grand Prix after a thrilling 16-lap fight to the flag against Ferrari's Carlos Sainz Jr., but could have resulted in Sainz scoring his maiden Formula One win here in Canada. I'm Luke Smith, and this is Paddock Packdown. So it was a brilliant win for Max Verstappen here in Canada, his 6th victory of the season, and it now means he is 46 points clear at the top of the Drivers' Championship. It's been a really good run of form for him, but it so nearly could have been turned around today. Carlos Sainz was right up there with him, and it did boil down to those two drivers. We saw Sergio Perez out of the picture, his crash in qualifying, then a gearbox failure in the race putting him out of contention. And Charles Leclerc, with his engine penalty, meant he could only start at the back of the grid and recovered 5th in the end. So it was down to Verstappen and Sainz to go wheel to wheel. Now, after the race, Verstappen said that he thought Sainz had the quicker car all weekend, and Sainz agreed. He said, "We had the quicker package, we can take really good confidence from that," but it didn't result in the race win for Sainz. But were there some points where Sainz could have snatched away victory today and given Ferrari their first win since Australia? Now, Ferrari's initial plan was to make the one-stop strategy pull off. That's what they committed to with Sainz during the race. Montreal, we know it's a tough track on tyres, and it was always going to be a toss-up for teams between the one-stop and the two-stop strategy. Now, Red Bull, they committed quite early on. They said that if they had a virtual safety car early enough within their pit window, they always planned to bring Verstappen in. That happened on lap 9 when Perez stopped and the virtual safety car was deployed, and Red Bull opted to bring Verstappen in for a set of hard tyres. That dropped him back a little bit, put Sainz into the lead of the race. But of course, Verstappen did have that fresher tyre delta, and Red Bull said after the race that she saw some graining very, very early on, even in those 9 laps, that made them confident a two-stop strategy was the right way to go. Ferrari, on the other hand, were looking pretty good with their tyre deck. They radioed Sainz to say that degradation was looking much less than expected, and that gave them the good confidence they could commit to the one-stop strategy and make it work to the end of the race. But it was always going to be a very long stint for Sainz on those hard tyres. He came in on lap 20, another virtual safety car, this time for Mick Schumacher's stoppage, so that meant he'd have had to go 50 laps to the end of the race on the hards. Sainz returned to the track 9 seconds behind Verstappen, but already the tyre delta was beginning to bring him back into the picture. He was catching up a little bit, and that made Ferrari look in a pretty good position going into the rest of the race. Red Bull knew they couldn't get Verstappen to the end without coming in again. They had to go for the two-stop strategy. He came in on lap 43 for another set of hard tyres, losing him the track position and putting Sainz back into the lead for Ferrari. Now, initially, he was able to make quite big inroads. He was gaining as much as a second a lap at one point, but then the gap stabilised at around 7.5 seconds. This, again, it gave Ferrari good confidence. They said after the race that they did think there was a chance they could have held on and made the one-stop strategy work to give Sainz that victory. Now, Sainz wasn't going to let anything stop him from trying to fight for that race win, even with the tyre advantage being with Verstappen at that point. He said he was planning to hang the car out and really defend as much as he could. Verstappen said after the race that he was actually quite doubtful that he would have been able to catch Sainz and get ahead. Of course, as we know in Canada, we saw with those long DRS trains, it can be really hard to get overtakes completed, so it would have been quite close between them. However, Red Bull's Christian Horner, he said that all the metrics that Red Bull had and their data showed that it would have probably been about 10 laps towards the end that Verstappen would have caught up and managed to make the pass and get the race win anyway. But even with a second stop, there was still a scenario whereby Ferrari could have won the race for Sainz. It was quite a late decision by Ferrari to bring him in under the safety car, but they opted for another set of hard tyres. There were 21 laps remaining when Sainz came into the pits, and they thought it'd be too long a stint to go for mediums or for even the soft tyre. Now, some drivers did manage to go that far on mediums. Charles Leclerc, his teammate, he managed 29 laps on the medium tyre, so there was a scenario where it could have worked. However, they felt being on the same tyre as Verstappen, but with a 5-lap tyre advantage, would have been enough to hopefully get the job done. It ended up being quite a long safety car period, though. Carlos Sainz said after the race that with only 16 laps remaining by the time they went to green, he could have even gone for the soft compound tyre. That would have given him the chance to really attack during the warm-up phase and maybe get a move done on Verstappen nice and early before pulling away with his fresh tyres and to get that race win. But even with things playing out as they did, there was still a lot of factors going in Sainz's favour. He had that tyre advantage and, of course, DRS, which we know is so powerful around this circuit, with 3 zones allowing him to get closer and closer lap after lap. However, he could never get quite close enough to go for a lunge, particularly into the final chicane. But Christian Horner said after the race, highlighting how important the traction was of the Red Bull, particularly through the first sector. Verstappen was able to build enough of a lead up before they hit the first DRS zone, but then for the final 2 DRS zones, that long back straight and then the main straight, At a turn 10, the hairpin, Verstappen's traction was just too good, meaning by the time Sainz did get close with DRS, he just couldn't get near enough to go for an overtake. It was a really important thing, and against Red Bull's real advantage this year, which has been the straight line speed, that actually helped Verstappen win the race despite Sainz's advantages. So it was another missed opportunity for Carlos Sainz, but he is remaining calm about things. We've seen that he's up there, he's in the fight, he's there with Leclerc, with Verstappen, with Perez, and I honestly think it's a matter of time until Sainz does finally get that breakthrough win and finally score his first Formula One victory. It'd be a great day for him, a great day for Ferrari, but it wasn't to be today here in Montreal. Max Verstappen, his purple patch of form just continues. He's looking really unstoppable right now. As I said, 46 points clear at the top of the championship. It's becoming a big lead for anyone to try and overturn in the coming races. But next up, we go to the British Grand Prix at Silverstone. Mercedes, they'll want to try and come back into the picture as well. And I'm sure this Red Bull and Ferrari fight is only going to continue. We'll be analysing it all on the next edition of Paddock Packdown.